All right, folks, into the action we go. We knew we were going into the day with a time count which signaled at least a decent chance, high probability of some sort of pullback. The pullback was pretty shallow thus far, and again, you can see that Bitcoin did put in its first red candle in quite a while since the time count began, which again is what the time count predicts. Now, again, you can see that the next day has just started. It's down ticking just a little bit. But the big question that I'm looking for now is, what do we do off of this? Do we start to put in a bull flag, in which case potentially we could see a little further upside? Now, again, the big question is here is we very, very clearly have the FTX high pivot from right there, right? So this is where the collapse of FTX began. We've essentially gone up to just about that high. Remember the psychology behind why that level is resistance. And again, just to rehash it for new members, it's basically the idea that you had a lot of buyers buying in here. You started to push up. More buyers were here. And then all of a sudden, the collapse happened. And so those individual buyers watched crypto in general drop, 20, 30, 40%. Now, Bitcoin only dropped about 25%, but if you were in some of the altcoins, you saw 40, 50% drops in these coins, inclusive of even more if you were looking at Solana, how far Solana collapsed. And so the idea is, on a psychological basis, when your account, when people's accounts is made full by price going back up to that level, there is always going to be a certain percentage that say, okay, I'm back to where I was prior to the FTX collapse. I'm uneasy with the crypto markets because of the FTX collapse and what I just went through. Therefore, I'm going to sell at that level. And again, that's why you get resistance right here. Okay, so again, the big question to me now is, well, what do we do? Now, remember, one pause day or small pullback day does not a bull flag make, right? So you have to watch over the next multiple days to see what this pattern matures into. Do we start to get a sharper decline? Do we get a beautiful sideways kind of move, which would be more bullish? Ultimately, what do we get? All right, now, if price does start to pull back, what are the levels to watch? Well, the obvious level here again, I mean, this is just such a beautiful level here. You can clearly see this point right here if we stretch it across. That's going to be support now, right? So here was your high pivot. So over here it was support, 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 broke, now resistance, broke. So if it comes back in there, that's support. The secondary level I'll be watching is a level where if we take this trend line, we can slope it right through these lows here, right around there, and that creates a beautiful little upsloping support as well. So this would be support number one and support number two. Resistance remains right here. If we get through that resistance level just a little bit above, there's another resistance at around 22.5, and then really right here, this would be another big one here at around 25 and change. All right, now remember, this over here was from back in May. That again is a big drop right there, May into kind of that, late May period before this little bounce, and then we had that big flush here. And then obviously we've tested the lows, but now we've come off of those lows. Just keep in mind that again, when this pump was occurring on Thursday and Friday, a lot of retail really got really bullish, which is fine. But I think, again, you have to look at it in terms of what's the move in the scheme of the bear market. And if you look at this, and then that's your move that's making you believe that we're going to all-time highs in a month or 3 months, that's a little problematic if you're looking at that. Right now, could it be the low? Yeah, I mean, anything is possible, right? I think that's what probabilities tell us. There's always a small percentage chance that the low is in on Bitcoin. But again, the higher probability play is to expect a retrace and eventually a break lower. Okay, and by the way, to me, this is kind of reminiscent of the opposite of what we saw here, right? So here, we were trading up, then we had this big fall, and everyone started to think, oh, here goes the bear market, and then we actually went up. So the idea here is, to me, what if this move up is the inverse of this move down? All right, so in other words, what that would tell us is that essentially you have, let's say here to here, and then instead we go even lower, and again, how low is, who knows, before you then recover. So see, it's kind of an inverse kind of pattern to the M over here, essentially a W. So here was your M pattern that got a lot of people kind of fooled on that one. Okay, so could this be the opposite of that, which would be a W pattern? And again, I'm just speculating here. I want everyone to understand that this is just various possibilities that we have to keep in mind for the overall charts. Okay? All right, so the concept here is, number one, we were into resistance. Number two is that you're up from basically $8 to 25, which was the high. And then the third factor is that even if price does go higher, which is very, very possible here, so let's say price goes up here, right? Okay, so this would be your next level, which is around 27 or so. The beauty of it is I only have 1% short, so you would just add right here if it does pop up there, as you'd be even more overbought in that scenario, and you would add to that short right there, okay? So again, this is a calculated trade based on resistance, based on extension moves, based on all those fun things. In fact, speaking of extension moves, I'm just curious about the fib here. Is there a fib here? Yeah, it looks like, so there is. I mean, we pierced it right here, but it was a 50% retrace. So from this high to this low, 50% retrace right there as well. So again, you have the Fibonacci right there as well. Interestingly enough, look at where the 618 Fibonacci is, right at that next level. So if we do go up to the 618, it not only has that, but then it has this big trend line right here as well. So just some little keys into, I love how the points, what you'll find is resistance and support lines, they also coordinate with other factors. And I think that's so cool because, again, the more factors you have at one point, the more kind of power you have for a move to actually come. All right, so here's the chart of Ethereum, and Ethereum, again, a little bit of a pause candle here. Same thing starting the new day. We just started the new day. Here's your next upside resistance right in here, this pivot top around 1650. And again, my guess is we are headed at some point. Now, could we touch 1650 first? Yes, we could, but my general thought process would be a pullback to this area, which would be this pivot and this down-sloping green line, and that would be around 1350. So I think, if you're looking for a target, a likely target, that's probably in the realm of where I would expect it to go. All right, we still have Polkadot long, and again, Polkadot had an amazing move here, getting as high as $6.50. Same thing, what we're going to follow here is this consolidating here? Does it stay above the blue line? Does it stay above the yellow line? Does it consolidate right here before another move up? Resistance on this would then be around $7.25 to 50 cents right in here. That would be your next resistance point. In fact, let me put that on the chart here so we can kind of track that area here. There we go. Okay? All right, so that's next resistance on any sort of consolidation. If this is going to hold up, you'd like to see it hold the yellow trend line, which is down sloping. Also, this little area right in here, kind of right here around $5.50 or so. But really, again, remarkable move on Polkadot, and really all the alts have had just tremendous moves. Like if you look at the low on Polkadot here, which was around $4.20, it ran up to $6.50. I mean, basically that is a 50% move on Polkadot. And a lot of these did. I mean, obviously Solana went a lot further, but it was also a lot more beaten up due to the panic over the FTX scenario. All right, so again, that's where we are in terms of positioning. And again, I like that we've lightened up on our longs. Needless to say, this is a very high-risk pump in the crypto market. Very short-term overbought. Doesn't mean it can't digest it with consolidation, but right now you have to be very conservative, in my opinion. I like, again, that our big position is Bitcoin. If we're going to have a big position, that's the one you want to be in, because that's the one that inevitably, in my opinion, has the strongest chance of surviving. Ethereum, I think, gives us a good chance to make some money quickly on a pullback. Maybe even more. Solana, same thing. And Polkadot, again, being considered a commodity versus a security, does also kind of bring in some chance of decent upside action at some point. I still think, again, these all could pull back and make new lows. But again, trimming longs, smart move, gives us opportunity to re-enter on pullbacks or big drops. And also having some shorts out there gives us a chance to profit on any sort of retrace, technical retrace there. Okay, so next up, what I want to do is go into some other cryptocurrencies. We'll take a gander at some of these. We can take a look at BNB real quick here and just go into that. Again, BNB, I talked about resistance right here. Sure enough, price is stalled out right there. That's no surprise on that one. Cardano's still sitting right where I put out the sell signal on that to take profits on that. So again, so far that's exactly been correct. Whether or not we get a bigger pullback or we can go up a little bit more. You don't have a lot more upside until you hit big resistance around 38 cents. And even in best case, you're looking at 43 cents. And again, it's important to notice that this is a pretty, solid downsloping channel here. So, again, best case before it runs into major resistance would be 43 cents. Okay. Let's see here. We looked at Polkadot, Solana. Yeah, we already talked about that one. Dogecoin. I mean, sure, what the heck. We'll do Doge here just to kind of go through it. Dogecoin has had a little bit of a pop here, but again, you know, it really at this stage, this would be your high pivot to watch. This was your Elon Musk buying Twitter pop, and then so far, it's held this area of support at least, but again, you know, it's kind of following the rest of crypto, getting some gains here. You guys know I'm not a huge fan of Doge, and I'm not a huge fan of SHIB as well on the charts. Tron, TRX, see if I don't know if anyone's in that one. Tron did have a nice push up. Notice when it broke this upsloping trend line, it came down to test this area right here before ripping up, but look at where it stalled, and I always love showing this because it just shows you how important those charts are. Ran right up, right into those previous highs. You can even extend that line all the way back, and it stalled out right there. All right. Avalanche, let's see. Avalanche doesn't look like it's done much recently, so same kind of thing. After that monster pop here, basically a small down day, flattish on the new day that we just began about an hour ago as well. All right, so again, I think at this stage, Uniswap, Chainlink, they're all kind of pausing-ish right in that range. Again, amazing move late last week. It was risk on Central. Remember, the stock market is closed tomorrow, although the S&P futures are open. The futures market is open, but again, the stock market is closed. So again, it could keep crypto a little bit on the quieter side. Gold is flattish as well in the overnight here. Up 25 cents. So again, there's nothing going on there. Same thing with silver. Nat gas is having a little bit of a pop, and again, that's been beaten up. That's actually one of my favorite commodities right now. And again, I know I don't go into commodities much here, but take a look at this drop here, and then look at this level here. If I flip to my weekly chart, this trend line and this trend line converging right at the levels on natural gas. So I am bullish on natural gas down here. There's no doubt about that. Again, just based on those cross trend lines and then also how steep of a fall nat gas has been collapsing. Really, I mean, you could argue that this moved down this was a high of around $7 and it's gone straight down on the weekly chart. No time count yet, which is interesting, but nonetheless into major support there. Okay, in terms, I mentioned the futures are open on the S&P, even though the stock market's closed tomorrow. But again, S&P futures up 1.5 points, so barely any movement there. And again, be very interesting to see when markets start trading again on Tuesday here in the U.S., how things kind of progress. Do they whip around? Do they start to make big moves? Or do we get kind of some profit taking, if you will? It is options expiration week as well, which always can offer some wild trading action. Okay? Alrighty, guys. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I will keep you guys fully posted, and good to see some action. I think that's I'm most thrilled about that, is just give us action so that we can either go long or we can go short. Let that continue, and we will have lots of trading opportunities. Take care.